There is a part of me when I'm texting, I'm like, I'm texting the GM now.
Get the f*** out of here. That says you're crazy. You're a dumb motherfucker. It's another edition of KFC Radio on the Barstool Sports Network. I'm back.
There it is.
I'm back. Yeah, John was like, how does he usually start it? Not one person knew. I've said that probably 1,500 times.
You said like, it is KFC Radio or something.
It is the podcast. One of our all-time episodes. Dude, I didn't understand so many things about that episode. First of which, you texted me in right at 2:00. It was like 1:57, and you were like, this is not going good. And I was like, or you were like, I'm not like prepared to host this or something. And I thought maybe you were still doing the interview because it was like right at 2:00.
I see. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, so he's going to do the interview, thinking that like you had already recorded the podcast. And then I was getting texts throughout that were speaking in the present tense, like this is hard, and not like it was hard or like it was bad. You were like, this episode we're doing right now is like shit, and I was like, it's like 4:00, and I just kept getting these updates hours and hours and hours apart. And then when I got the call, I thought for sure you were walking home, being like, "Yo, let me tell you about this episode."
Debrief.
And then I realized you were like still there. But then I realized it was for the show. Yeah. I didn't like give you anything because I was just like, oh yeah, like whatever, like just the debrief, the recap. I was like, this is part of the show.
I would say
it was 5:30.
It went
You
about
recorded for 6 hours.
Noon to 5:45 to get an hour 40, which Jacqueline I'd have loved if you nailed when I was at an hour.
I mean,
although no, Jackie did tell me when we were at an hour. But we just had 6 ads, and an hour is not enough.
That's the KFC Radio difference right there, first of all. Multiple things. Number one, the amount of people out there who do their podcasts and are limping to get to like 50 minutes, we'll give you an hour and 45 even when the podcast host doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. The amount of podcasts out there that'll be like, hey, if they're lucky enough that they can do 6 ads, they will jam 3 in the front and 3 in the middle and just say, fuck you. No. We give you enough minutes to spread that shit out.
Jackie was like, she's like, ads would be like 8 minutes apart. I was like, no fucking chance can we do that. So I guess.
But there's a lot of people who would.
I did know that.
So
we did longer.
So and then what KFC Radio gives you is even when the host says the podcast sucks, everybody still wants to listen to it. I'm willing to bet that it's in the top percentages of our downloads this year. I will admit John might have the correct take that retention rate might be a little bit low. We might not see. Let's bet on percentage of listeners that complete an hour and 45 minutes.
So
I mean, that's always like 0 anyway, right?
I tell you the analytics just like based off average stuff right now. Based on I think it's only been live. It's only been live 3-4 hours, something like that.
Probably the same exact as everything else.
So it's performing way higher than typical.
I'm telling you, this is going to be one of our top 5 listened episodes of the year.
It's also like we have more comments on this one than we do on most episodes.
Well, that illuminates a lot of things.
That's the argument against doing things. Because I'm not doing show.
No, you're real.
I'm being honest. It was bad.
It was bad. I keep saying this. You're watching a marketing genius. And I mean it, but not like you're a marketing genius, like you're scamming people. It's like, it's just better to be like, yo, this shit sucks. And then the fans like your honesty and they ride with you because it's kind of, I know what you're saying. You're going to say that it's an incentive to just do things shitty. And then it's like, but it's not. It's that it's so rare that we do that. Right. You can't do that every episode.
Yeah, it has been 10. Like I had like kind of a panic this morning. Not a panic, but I had a thought where I was like, fuck, people are going to be like, he doesn't care, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I hope the 10 years has bought me a great grace period. Where
honestly, think of another time that we were.
Because I do care. I care that it's bad. I couldn't do it good.
It's honestly like when guys are trashing athletes and they're like, you think I'm trying to strike out? Like I wanted to do a great podcast. Yeah. I don't know. Well, okay, a few things here. Back to what you just said. I can't think of another time that we actually put out a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like, there's been episodes that are good, bad, short, long, that guest wasn't great. Oh, I was sick, whatever. I don't even know if, like, even once I've ever been like, I'm giving minimal effort to this. I'm going into it, doing it, and putting it out, being like, whatever.
I think I would say there have been 3 max, and it was like I was sick or hungover. There's never been a day where I was fully,
just like,
where I was fine and was like, I don't want to do it. That's never happened.
Right, and yeah, because there's been times where I didn't want to do it, but we fucking do it.
Yes, right.
And then it's what's interesting is 2 things about the audience. Number 1, I think it resonates with people either on a conscious or subconscious level of like we've all done that. Like, oh, I just bombed that presentation. Or like, whoa, that pitch did not go well. Or if you're in if you're in the entertainment industry, you can directly relate. But everybody's been in that spot of like, holy shit, that sucked. So I think that people like can sympathize with that and would almost like, let me throw you a download like just because of that. But more importantly, I think it's 10 years of like people know who you are, what you're about, what you can and can't do, and like want to tune in for the train wreck, but also know that it's the outlier. Like, if it was this every week, or from now on that was the podcast, they'd be like, we're not watching that, we're not listening to that. But I argue doing that, you can't fake that. But if somehow that happens once every, whatever, or there's another version of that, like this time we mailed it in, this time, the quality was bad, this time the location was bad, every quarter, it's probably better than just doing like our 1 millionth podcast.
Right.
And, unless there's some big news or some really good topics or some great voicemails, it's just like we're just going to keep doing our thing and it'll always be like pretty good, it'll always be like where we're at. But I'd argue that I'd rather see, I'm thinking about my own TV shows and podcasts that I watch, when there's a special event or a thing, even if it's like, if I was listening to, if one of the podcasts I listened to was like, yo, this episode fucking was like crazy in a bad way, I'd be like, I got to check this out.
Yeah.
Now, again, I don't know if I'd watch all 1 hour, 45 minutes.
There is like, it's also like, I actually think like, not particularly interesting stuff, but like, it's not like we didn't have anything to talk about. It's just like it's just such a mess. Like it's just like we're gonna talk about this now. Like there's the
segues.
Like there's no conversation.
Yeah,
segues happen in conversation.
Well, also you sat here alone.
Yeah,
that's fucking 90% of the problem.
Right.
It makes no sense.
I don't know
why didn't somebody just sit here.
Jackie didn't want to. I was
Jackie just doesn't. She's the boss now. Jackie just says if she doesn't want to do something, she just doesn't do it.
She's on strike.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did she say that, or you're saying?
No, she said that.
Okay, that makes sense.
She's on strike.
Oh, that didn't make it in the episode.
Not because of us.
I think we go on lockout though. Wait, why did she say she's on strike?
It's I guess commenters are mean to her. We're gonna have to talk to Jackie. I guess
she's on strike.
Okay. It's a flying fuck about the commenters.
That's I think it's a deeper thing.
It takes a little while to get there.
It's
harder for girls. Yeah, we'll talk to Jackie. If I didn't know that commenters were getting to her, if commenters are actually being mean. First of all, it's different when you're a girl. Second of all, it's different when you're not like set in your career, and it's like this doesn't. The comments don't matter to her, but she probably thinks that like it could matter. People are gonna see that.
Yeah.
All that shit. So, but man, fuck you. Fuck anybody who's, actually being a dick.
Right.
It's like it's all fun and games here until someone's actually a dick. Because then it's like she wouldn't be on the show. We wouldn't put her out there on live shows. We wouldn't put her on camera. We always wax poetic about her because, we actually believe in her. And it's the other side of things. It's like, well, we're going to tear you down because that's what we do to people we like. But, it's like treating somebody as one of the boys when they're a girl, they're not as old, they're not in the same career spot. Like, it's hard.
Yeah. See, before the episode, I was like, if you generally don't want to do it, you don't have to do it, obviously. Mm-hmm. And I could see. I was like, I think she really doesn't want to do it, so we just did it alone.
Now that being said, there are times where you also have to power through. You have to power through and figure that out because that's the fucking game. But yeah, we'll have a talk with Jackie. We'll figure that out. Because you know why?
Family,
bro. It's fucking family. That being said, we couldn't find a single guest for our show today.
It's not that. Like I went through the office. There's just nobody here.
It's Thursday in the summer.
At
Barstool Sports.
You
could just say it's a Thursday at Barstool Sports. You ain't gonna have
it was particularly barren. Paz had left through too. There's nobody.
And the only people that were here are the people who work and we're busy. So we can't have our usual, Monday Barstool guest. So in order to fill in for that, I am today's guest.
Yeah.
You will be interviewing me.
Oh boy, buckle up.
You don't have to interview me, but I will be today's guest for a look inside Barstool. I think we both agree. We've always both said this at various times, either during when we've been interviewed or during work speeches and presentations and stuff. I think both of us feel that the only true like hallmark moment we can like pin down on our career was the moment we knew we could do this as our career.
Yes.
There's like, when we sold out like the Wilbur, when we sold to Chernin and sold to Penn, there are these moments. But just for me personally, when people ask like what was the most important or biggest moment of your career, it was when I could leave corporate life and be like, this is enough to live. I don't know if I never thought I would, make as much money or succeed as much as we have. But I was like, I was going to pay like $50,000 a year.
Yep.
And that wasn't right away. That was like, because I did the part-time thing for a while. And then when I went full-time, it was still like, we got to cut some people. We can't keep the lights on. I think it was really the Blackout tour and then certainly with Chernin. But there was a moment like in between there where I was like, this pays enough and it's going to last long, the longevity. Because it's like, my thought when I left Deloitte was, okay, Dave's willing to pay like $50,000. That's basically, it was less than what I was making at Deloitte, but, a reasonable pay cut. I was like, cool, but it could disappear in a year. And then I've kind of set myself back. Or what if I do it for 5 years and then it disappears? And then I've really set myself back. And then
I never thought that.
You thought
I never thought it would disappear.
So you figured you would always have like even if it's just like an entry level job,
yeah, I never thought I was going to get much more, but I didn't think it was going to go anywhere. It was. I also it was probably easier to have that faith.
In Boston, I think is so different too.
Yeah, true.
You saw like the fucking power of it.
I knew, not even being in Boston, but just like I knew in high school we all read it. And I knew people weren't going to stop. And like it was like all my friends read it. It was like, I didn't, again, it helped to have that faith that there was nothing below it. Like, right. Like when you're walking across a tightrope, you're like, this isn't going to break.
Yeah.
It's all I got. But I never had that, but like I came home from the Blackout tour once and Dave just handed me like $3,000 in cash. And because it was like he was paying me in cash at the time,
right?
And it was like we'd been on the road for like 2 months or whatever, and he's like, "Here's $3,000," and I was like, "Oh, I'm set."
Actually, I retired. Yeah, that it was probably a very different experience for you. Mine was always like I had to like nobody knew it. Everyone I talked to, what is Barstool Sports? So I was always like trying to grow it and being like, man, these people don't know. It was, of course, a bunch of people who did know, but a lot of people in my world were like, "What's that?" So probably in like 2013 into 14, I was like, all right, this is, probably what I'm going to do. I think when I got to like, I think I started at like 50 and then like, whenever I got to like $100,000, I think I was like, wow, I'm making like six figures to do this. Like there was a point where I was like, I would probably be like at Deloitte after that many years too. So like, fuck it, But
how long did it take you to get to Nicky Smokes' first week?
I knew you were gonna make a joke about salary there. I didn't realize it was gonna be that and how fucking. Bro, there are people who must be.
Yeah.
I can tell you it's come up a couple times in every single one-on-one that I have, and I manage them people. So.
I mean, and it's like, it's not his fault.
Yeah,
right.
But it is. But yeah, right.
Like,
when you're an overpaid athlete,
you're
going to...
Like, and especially, like, I don't think he...
Of course you signed the deal, but guess what?
You're going to catch the heat. Yeah. That's why I actually really do maintain, if I was ever, like, a Boris client, and he was like, dude, they're going to give you $300 million, I legit think I would be like, let's sign for $250.
Yeah.
Just get the PR of saying, hey, you know what? Reinvest in the team, do the Brady, all. I really truly think I would do that. I know it's easier said than done, but when you're talking about that much money, I think it's actually more beneficial.
But it's also, you can flip that where you're like, $350 and $250 isn't that different. But you can also be like, oh, I'm not going to give away $50 million.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I yes, I wouldn't give it away, but I guess if you did it in the sense of like
300 and 250.
You know, this is for the team, for other people, you know. Nicky Smokes is what he goes by?
I think so, yeah.
He could have said, you know what I mean? Like, I know there are people here who have been here longer than me and like who whatever, because there are people who are like, you know, have scratched and clawed and are probably making the same amount.
Yeah. He could have thrown up one blog when 2 teams of his were in the playoffs, but you know that would
yeah, that's I mean
that would have been cool.
It hasn't been exactly. I haven't kept tabs or anything, but I don't know if it's been the best showing.
I just checked that one for fun. Like, where are we at here?
Yeah, that's got to rub a lot of people the wrong way. Yeah, it probably took me like 5 years, but you know.
It's apples and oranges, but it's also not.
Sure. Right. So anyway, this is all to say that the moment that I was like, I don't have to do conference calls and meetings and email chains and Slacks, and I remember Erica coming in and saying, "We're gonna all get on Slack."
That was
the only
funny.
thing I like put like I was like, Erica, we ain't doing Slack.
That was very funny to hire. Like, we hired a real business CEO, and we were like, they're gonna take us to the next level. They're gonna get us in line. And Erica's first request / demand was we do everything on Slack. And we were like,
no.
And
that was also G-Chat for life.
Yeah.
I was like, you can G-Chat me. I've got a green dot.
Yeah.
You can send me a little instant message on G-Chat if you need me. Otherwise, no.
We put our faith in this person. Here's my first piece of advice. No. And we actually stuck to it. I don't, to this day, I don't have a Slack.
In our defense, that was just a wild miscalculation by her. Yeah. She sort of started with something a little more reasonable, you know, like, you know, I don't know, just like hours of operation or something like that. Like, they have to come in for certain hours of the day.
So what do you do when your girlfriend is dropping hints that she wants a ring, but you have no clue where to start? I will tell you what you do. You go over to jamesallen.com. It is the online destination for designing a customized engagement ring your partner will love more easily than you ever thought possible, and saving up to 50% compared to traditional stores. 50% is a huge number. Talk about anything, let alone when you're talking about an engagement ring. You can choose from over 200,000 online conflict-free diamonds. You can choose your pick of diamond. You can see it magnified, 360-degree view, so you can see what the actual diamond looks like up close. That is the important view, up close. You know it's going to be zoomed in on Instagram. You know it's going to be zoomed in on Facebook, Twitter, Threads. I don't know, wherever you post pictures these days. People are going to zoom in, see what kind of ring you got your partner. And then, after you're zooming in, you can pick from hundreds of ring settings in platinum, white gold, rose gold, and yellow gold. But here's what really makes the difference. JamesAllen.com is the most helpful place to shop. They offer real-time diamond consultations with no commission. Important part. They're not trying to sell you on the ring. They're just trying to sell you on the right ring. They can walk you through the whole process, educate you on the technical stuff, because I don't know what that is, and answer your questions. JamesAllen.com is the fastest growing online retailer of engagement rings and diamond jewelry. They've already been a part of 200,000 engagements around the world. Is yours next. Get 25% off your order when you go to JamesAllen.com and use code KFC. That's code KFC at JamesAllen.com for 25% off. JamesAllen.com.
So the day, I mean, and that was my career at Barstool in the beginning. My hook, my thing was all of that. Cubicle Chronicles and Mail Time. And because for the first few years, I was like in doing it. Like I was at a desk hiding from my bosses the same way that everyone else was. You guys were reading it and I was just writing it, but it was the same thing of like the boss is over your shoulder. You got a deadline to meet. You're blowing off work. Shut your shit down on Friday. Just get out of there. And then Monday morning sucks. I was like living and breathing that. So all of my content was real and people could feel that and all that shit. And I was just happy because I just knew I was like, I am not cut out for that life and I never will be. So I got to get out of it. And that's what the last, 10 of my 15 years has been like fully out of the cubes. And so then this year I made the decision to do something I said I was never going to do ever again and go back into corporate life. And I accepted actually not even accepted, like proactively sought out, and I actually have a job at Barstool Sports. Like when people ask me what's your job for the last decade and a half, I don't know what the answer is, right? That's when all the original people, our biggest thing. You don't want to say blogger because there was at least early on there was a connotation. You don't want to say like writer or journalist because we're sure as fuck not that. You don't want to say like radio host because we were not on the radio. Podcaster, people didn't even know what podcast was. And whatever, you didn't want to say influencer, content creator, whatever. And whatever you landed on, people said, "Oh, you make money? Oh, that's like your hobby?
Yeah.
Or what do you do for real? You know, what do you do for a living?" So for years, I still don't really.
I luckily I haven't had to move or anything. Like I haven't had to fill out a form lately.
Right, so you don't even have to write it down.
All of my most recent panic attacks have been brought upon by someone going, "What do you do?"
It's truly, at least in New York, I know there's always this debate about like when you go out on dates, like what kind of questions do you ask? Like in New York City, the first thing you do is say, "So what do you do?" And the people always answer with their job. That's always a big thing where it's like, I guess in other parts of the country they don't answer that with their job.
That's insane.
If you answer that question with anything other than your job, you're either a child and don't have one, which is like cool, like you're a kid, or you're an asshole.
I do not. I think we might have talked about it once before, but like at that time I learned that like to me it's not even like it's a very clear question. Like what do you do?
Totally.
When I ask what do you do, I'm 100,000%. I don't mean what's your what do you do for like I mean what do you do for a living?
Do for work? What do you do for a paycheck? And Europeans do it different. If you're trying on purpose, you're trying to stand out from a girl's been hit on by 1,000 guys and answer the same questions the same way. You want to stand out, fine, but that's to admit that the regular answer to that question is just what the fuck do you do?
Yeah, right.
But when you don't have an answer to that, then you look like the ultimate asshole because you go like, there's this thing and there's a website, it was a paper, it's in Boston, but I work in New York, blah, 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 and it's just like this fucking sucks. So I technically, in my mind, have not had a job for the last 15 years, and I went and got one. The other day I said to someone, I got a job at Barstool Sports, and they were like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Because I actually have a job at Barstool Sports now."
Are you gonna get a LinkedIn page?
No, I have a LinkedIn page.
You have a LinkedIn?
I've never used it, but I have it. I started it, I think, when like LinkedIn started, and no, I might have started it. I'm lying a little bit. There was a time where Dave. I think when I got that $100,000, I think when I hit that level, Dave called me the director of content at that point. Or at least,
really?
I don't know if he ever said it or if it was kind of like the idea was that I would kind of just like direct traffic. Mm. That's when we were like, we're going to write more lists. We're going to do some crossover blogs. We're going to do like Smoke Smash, Marry, Fuck, Kill, all the things that were like.
God, Smoke Smash was the war.
But it was such a great grift, dude.
It was such a great grift, but I was the one doing all the fucking cropping and shit like that.
Yeah. I had to crop it like perfectly or it wouldn't work.
It was the worst cropping ever.
That was when the Design Menace was still in the mix. Dude. Remember that guy? The Design Menace he created all of our back end, and it was all like specific to his code or whatever. It was great. He was a mail time king. He made himself indispensable because it was like nobody else knows how to change the code on this. So he was. I was so bad at it, and it's like why I hate why I'm not good at social. Like it feels like busy work to me, and I got a mental block. I can't do it. I hate busy work, and obviously when I started, I had busy work, and Dave sent me an email. I still remember to this day that. We never even met in person. I was living in New York, so I was like technically like the Barstool New York intern. Yeah.
And Dave sent an email that said, "Jesus fucking Christ, Feitelberg, you're gonna be the first guy ever gets fired before he gets a job." And all I knew of Dave was like the funny internet guy. We never met. I didn't know his personality.
Right.
So like I had typed out an email like ha 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 whoops, and I was like. I don't know. That might be a serious email. I'm not going to send it.
Good call.
And I didn't send it. And
now we know that's Dave does not joke over
email. If I sent that email,
you would have been fired.
I'm not here. Yeah. 100%.
Well, because it was just like the pictures weren't going up right or something.
They were like going like it was like there would be black bars. And I was like, I can't figure it out. I don't fucking know.
It was so stupid. I remember the day that because every thumbnail on the blog needed, and then for smoke shows and Smoke Smash, it was even more picky. you had to put a perfect square around the circle.
Yeah.
And this sounds stupid, and if you've never done any type of blogging and back-end blog stuff, it wouldn't make sense to you. But, like, it's a thing that other websites, it's very intuitive. Like, you know, the computer or the program or the service, like Tumblr or WordPress, whatever, they just know that, like, here's the picture. You want the middle of it. Mm-hmm. Barstool Sports was like you could upload a picture and it would give you the top corner.
It would just be like a black square.
Yeah,
like,
because there was a black bar around the hot girl, and instead of her fat ass and tits, it would be the perfect little square in the corner.
A light on the ceiling at the bar.
Yeah, the worst. So that was always a pain in the ass. So at that point, that was like the one time I think for like 45 seconds I like had a title, and I think maybe I had a LinkedIn then where
no, I got it.
Yeah, but I don't think I've ever done it. I think I just filled it out.
It still just says blogger at Barstool Sports.
Okay.
And
I get like emails all the time from like blah 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 is trying to connect. It's like the automated thing.
My dad has a LinkedIn, and my dad has the same name as me, so he always gets. He's like, I get more entertainment people than like.
I'm sure.
Which is probably good for him, I guess. But the.
I mean, it's probably a super untapped resource for us over the last decade.
Yeah.
Because there were just constantly people. I probably had like 90% like jamokes, but there was probably like some real people being like, oh, I want to work with Barstool. Like, I'll use LinkedIn like the rest of the world, not knowing that we were like, suck my dick.
I just signed into mine. Apparently, Walt Disney reached out to me.
Yeah. I mean, for all I know, Bob Iger could be in my fucking mentions, So I had the LinkedIn. I know the picture I have because I remember I just liked the picture of myself. So I posted that. I'm not going to use LinkedIn for real. There's a lot. So here's how this all came
We might have
about.
a new segment, though, because I just looked at the Barstool LinkedIn, and we're posting, like, are you going to see Barbie or Oppenheimer this weekend? And then quotes from Barstool employees about
But that you might have to be gay on it, LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what plays, so. Yeah, me too. Water. So I have a new title, and a first title, really, ever, at Barstool Sports, and I am the general manager of comedy. I'm a GM.
Dude, GMs always throw me for a loop. Because...
Like in sports?
I know GM in one... when I first learned that, like when you're in, like, high school and college, and you like, have people who, like, work in bars, and, like, I gotta talk to the GM.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you talking
right,
about?
GM is a sports figure.
Like, GMs run baseball teams.
Yeah,
Actually, they don't anymore. Presidents run baseball
Well,
teams.
that was a fucked up thing, too, is, like, for our whole childhood, the GM, the general manager, drafts the players, signs the contracts, like, builds the team, and now there's the POBO, the president of baseball operations, and then under him is the GM, but other teams don't have that. They just have the GM. But then, you find out there's, like, a general manager of a bar. But that's not the owner. That's different than, and
I had no idea. In fact, I'm now learning. Until not this very second, I guess I put it together a little earlier when I heard about GMs at this company. I thought it was just bars and baseball teams.
Well, I actually don't know how many other... Yeah. I couldn't tell you if, like, I don't know if there were general managers. I think there's vice presidents everywhere else. There's a million vice presidents. Like, in the finance world, every dickhead's a vice president.
Yes.
Everyone's like, every fucking loser who was, like, 23 years old and working at an iBank, like, out of school, wearing, like, sneakers down in the financial district would, like, have their business card and be like, hey, babe, I'm a vice president. I'm a
yes,
VP.
dude,
Like,
I never put that together either. You're
dude.
right. It's always vice president.
Yeah.
Everyone's a fucking
There's
vice
hundreds
president.
of vice presidents at, like, in every group. So basically what happened was we are, thank you, at Barstool, we are reorganizing and realigning like everything. And as I kind of understand it...
Ooh, we got corporate fast.
Yeah.
We're realigning.
I tried, like, there was... I almost said something the other day that was, like, circle back-ish. And I, like, deleted it and was like, no.
No.
I think I said something like... I was going to say something like, give me a little bit of time to... And I was going to say something, and I wrote, like, no, like, get settled. Just I just used the regular phrase. So we heard that we were kind of realigning. As I basically understand it, there was kind of this, like, chaotic, just Barstool, if we can actually bring up the old picture of the organization. We have this infamous picture at Barstool that was more for the podcast, but kind of represented everything pre-churning, where it was like, here's New York, here's Boston, here's this podcast, here's that podcast. And it was like, rather than just being like a pyramid or a line, it was like this swirly, crazy thing of our organizational chart that made no sense. And Chernin came in and, wiped it all out and was like, here, we're going to build things like a real business. Over the 5 or 6 years in the Chernin era, that started to get messy as well because just Barstool is a mess. So what they created got just as messy, and all of it ended up with Gaz running the company. That's the best way I can put it. There's all these different arrows and lines, but all I can tell you for sure is that everyone was somehow reporting to Gaz. And we now, Erica has brought in a new COO, and he is coming in and implementing this GM structure that really worked for him at his old job, Jonathan Berkowitz. He's a great guy. Very I think in this corporate world, there's people who like come in and they're like, I'm going to institute my shit and do it my way, and they don't succeed. And then I think there are people who come in and they're kind of just like, I'm just like, however you guys do it, and they don't succeed. You kind of need like a good blend, and I think he's a good mix of the two. Anyway, he come up with this structure to do these GMs, which is like, we're going to break up the company into different sections, and they all kind of make sense. There's like sports and gambling, there's entertainment, there's culture and I don't know, it's the Black Podcasts, and then comedy. Mm-hmm. And we fall under comedy. And basically, I was hearing that they were going to like hire this GM, all while having my own conversations with Erica about the future and like things that I can do at Barstool with the connections I've made and the inroads we've made in the comedy world. And I had already been talking about some of like the things we should be implementing, from like pay-per-views and streaming and live shows. KFC Radio has always kind of been at the forefront of all these things that I think Barstool should have been doing and been doing earlier. And if we adopted earlier, I think we would have been even more successful. So we already were kind of doing that and not getting credit for it, not making any money for it, not getting it fully implemented because it was just like, a couple bloggers, a couple podcasters are saying it. And I was like, so another person's going to come in from the outside and do a lot of the shit that I think I'm already doing or trying to do and not know how Barstool works, so probably try to do some shit that I know right away is not going to work. And I was going to have to listen to another person. We've seen how many people come and go at Barstool. I mean, if you've been here for like, if you're a lifer here, the amount of executives or like head ofs, and
we're batting below the Mendoza line.
I mean, the amount of people they come in and they're like, this person came from Bleacher Report and they're going to implement this system that's going to change the whole system for Barstool. 6 months later, as some of you may have known, this is my last day.
Yeah, and also, I think, and I've said it privately and publicly pretty often, that we were consistently hiring people from the companies we say
we don't want to be. Yeah. Right.
And then pitching them back to us as if
they were a win.
It's a win.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, that's the company we hate.
That's the company we hate. That's the company we're better than. That's the company that's failing.
Like,
that's the company,
and I don't mean hate as in like a rivalry. I mean like hate as in like that's what they're doing isn't good.
Yeah, like they're lame.
Yeah.
I mean, if there was a company we hate, but they're like fucking incredible, maybe. But
right,
it's like,
right.
I don't want someone from like SB Nation.
Yeah.
Bleacher Report was like big, but they weren't like.
It wasn't like a Peyton Brady thing where they were bringing in Brady as fucking quarterback coach. It was like, fucking
that sucks.
Bringing in Chad Pennington. So I was like, this is.
Well, I don't know why we have to just throw a shot at my boy. But
I guess this is a rivalry we had, but like it's not impressive. Why are we listening to this?
There was definitely some hires in that regard. And then there was some that, like, I think they would have been good, but they ran for the hills. Yeah, they were like, wait a minute, this place is a shit show. Mm. So sometimes they didn't work. Sometimes they didn't work with us. And inevitably what would happen, and I learned this right before I took this job. I told myself probably like last year, I was like, I'm never listening to anybody again. Mm. There were people I listened to who sucked. There were people who I listened to who were good. But inevitably, I would buy into their process and listen to what they say, do what they do, only to have them leave. And then the new person comes in and they have a whole new process. And it might be better, it might be worse, but bottom line is it's different. And now we've spent all of our time undoing the way we did things, redoing them as a new way that this random person said to do it. And I thought to myself, well, they've produced this show and worked with that person and they've made this much money, so that they must be smart, it must work. And sometimes that was correct, but other times it's like, hey, what works for them does not work for Barstool. And bottom line is I was just like, I'm here always, and there's a revolving door of people telling me to do shit, and I'm buying into them, probably because I'm stupid, probably because I am not confident enough. Like if KFC Radio was just like top of the charts, the best show in the world, I would be like, no one's telling me shit. But there's always been room for growth, and I was like, if this person who created this show or worked with that guy and got these numbers and these ratings, like, I think there's some value there. Let me listen to them. And some things were good and some things weren't, and bottom line is, like, then they're gone. They're going to be gone. Whether it worked or didn't work, they leave, and we're still here, So I was like, I'm not doing that ever again. I'm just going to, I didn't like voice this to anybody probably but you guys, but I was just low key going to be like, I don't care who they hire. I'm never going to listen to them.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to do anything they say.
Oh, I've been doing that for 10 years.
yeah. Like I, if it aligned with what I believe.
Hasn't worked great,
Yeah.
but.
I think you voiced that to about the 100,000 people that every single episode listen to this podcast.
Yeah, they know.
But no one at
But no one
Barstool
else here
Sports has heard that.
I mean, I remember actually, even like things that do make sense, but like when we had a team come in and their job was to like make merch and create like storylines out of our content. And it was at the time where we were making like the JJO jokes and saying how you get the post-nut clarity. And they were like, we got to make T-shirts and the bracelets and all this stuff. And I remember being like, this feels like very forced. Like we're just taking a joke that we make on the podcast and we have to turn it into merch and we have to turn it into like a hashtag and a movement. But I was also like, this is how it goes though. Like we are just like this little like 2-bit blog, and I want to become like a real fucking company. And we hired these people who I'm going to trust that, the people above me implemented them, like they must be good. And she's like, here's the T-shirt, here's the bracelet. And it worked like on a very small level, but I remember being like uncomfortable with doing it. But I was like, I got to get out of my comfort zone and like try to do what's best for business. And then slowly learned that like our comfort zone is what's best for this show.
Yeah.
And maybe that's not all jobs. You can't tell like people to just do like what you want to do at your job, because it's like that's not how it works. But for this, it's all about like feel and
it's a very, I mean, and I don't mean this show in particular, but yes, this show in particular. But a lot of them are just very personal. So like it would people who like it, like you, it would feel weird to do stuff that's
impersonal or not,
that's not what they would do.
Right. Yeah. It's like it's basically like it's our show. We got people to buy into us, and if it's authentic to us, like they'll probably buy into it. And if it's not, it's not. And I did want to like make money and find a way to turn like this was just a joke on the podcast, and now we turned it into like a line of commerce. Cool, but only when it just happens. I think I learned that. I wish I could put a year on it. I wish I like journaled all this stuff, because there was also a time where I think the same thing about work that I do about tweets, where like if I ever called you up or texted you to be like, is this tweet worth it? The answer's already no.
Yeah.
The answer's already no. Whatever laughs and retweets you're going to get from one post is not worth whatever you're worrying about the blowback might be. Same thing at work, where it was like the first inkling I had of like, this is a square peg in a round hole. I didn't do it anymore. And within reason, there were certain times where it was like, I think this might work. Let's give it a shot. But that's where I had a good like system going with Brendan, where like he would throw every idea that he was learning at me, and I would just be like, no, didn't respond, no. But then the one that hit me that I liked, I was like, let's go, let's do that, And there was a million in between that I was like, nope, because I just felt like, no, nah, for whatever reason, it's not going to work. And as that time went on, just more and more of that, where it was like, I'm pretty positive now we have the barometer and the compass for like what works. So I was like, I'm just gonna do what I do. And then it got to the point where I was hearing about this GM job that someone else was gonna fill. There was this whole New York, Chicago thing going on where people were like, well, who's gonna run New York? And I was like, it's logically gonna be me, but it's not technically me. So like, why am I going to take on this role and all this stress and shit if it's not really my job? I never really know where I stand with Penn, so I was kind of like, well, I don't even talk to them, so should I do it? But I had everybody else, all the the people who work here were either coming to me like directly or indirectly, kind of being like, hey, can you help me with this? Or like, what are we going to do? So it all just kind of added up to like somebody. I care enough about the company and the people that are here, and especially the people that are staying here, that I want to see them succeed. So I'm probably going to be helping them anyway. I don't want to work with somebody else. I'm going to be doing a lot of that stuff and strategizing anyway, so hopefully I can get credit for it and get money for it and all that. And I like, at the end of the day, I also like this is all that I really talk about and do. It's I like the Mets and I like this. And I do nerd out on a lot of it, not to the level that they're probably going to need me to. Like, I don't want to. I just came from a meeting with fucking charts and shit, and I was like, oh, this sucks. And it actually, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, this is an impressive chart. As far as charts and information go, you guys fucking crushed it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you came in here right after, and we're like, dude, the data we have.
Yeah, like, they know fucking everything. I still update. We are no longer the 21%. We're the 12%.
What does that mean?
12% African American. So apparently we've lost 10% of our African American listeners,
sense.
or / the 21% is incorrect, as is the 12%.
Yeah.
Again, it's going to end up being like 1.2. It might even be 0.12. But I see some of these numbers and I'm like, I have no fucking idea how you came up with that, and I don't think you do either. But it's presented really nicely though. So it like, as far as some of that stuff goes, and there's just levels to how much you nerd out, where it's like, I want to talk about it ad nauseum. What's going on in the industry, other competitors, other like friends of the program, newcomers, who's hot, what's not, the new platforms, all that shit. I don't want to nerd out to the point that I want to sit there and go over the minutia with you of a PowerPoint presentation, but I'm willing to, make some sacrifices and do that. So far it's been a rocky couple weeks of I legitimately told our COO Jonathan, I said the biggest hurdle for me in this job is going to be checking my email. I reached nirvana. I think we all did. I don't. Maybe not you. I don't know how much you. I think the greatest place in the world that you can exist is where you don't use email. No, nirvana truly is actually like, I don't text. You just can disconnect. I couldn't go that far.
I'm closer to that than email.
You check email more than you check text and all that?
Shipping.
Yeah.
Package shipped. Whoa, mama.
Got it. I see. I mean, when we were blogging, we were G-Chat gang, the OG gang within the gang of the G-Chat gang. We were on the computer, on our email all the time, and it was chat, but it was also emails. Guess that ass, and there was a million things we had to email about, and I was always on it, sending each other links, the tips email. We were always on email. And then as it shifted to podcasting, I just like slowly checked less and less, and it got to the point where I was like, I don't need this. It's all just like spam and like
there is literally nothing I get aside from.
What's funny though? It would be like I wouldn't miss anything except for like one or two things, but they would be colossal.
Yeah.
They'd be like, oh, you didn't get that email about like your taxes that you owe or whatever fuck it was, and I was like, oh, because you know what I would say? There was also times where people would be like, did you get that letter we sent? And I'm like, no. Who the fuck checks their mailbox for a letter? This is 2020, whatever, And then I was like, oh, but if they emailed me, I wouldn't have got it either. Yeah. Oh, you actually probably have a better chance of reaching me via letter than email these days. I probably think that. Actually, at my new house, I don't even know where my mailbox is. Wait, where's my mailbox? I don't think I know where my mailbox is. I mean, I could take a pretty educated guess it's next to the front door, but it might not be. So maybe not right now, but there was a time.
Do you have one of those ones where it's like a street mailbox where you have to walk down and like there's a key?
You know what somebody did the other day? So my driveway's a smidge weird. You pull in, it's a U. There's an entrance and an exit.
Yeah.
So you can go both ways. And that just seems to bend the minds of delivery people, where sometimes they just pull up and there's a very clear front door. Just fucking put it at the front door. They sometimes go to the back door, which I think is super weird. But it's like, okay, it's still a door. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes they just leave it at the foot of the driveway. There is a mailbox at the end of the driveway. Yeah, now that I'm envisioning it, because I saw the box the other day, and it was in front of a big fat mailbox. But they just put the box on it's touching the street, basically.
Just throw it as a drive-by?
Probably, I guess. And then it poured rain and, soaked the box, because I didn't even know it was out there, because I went in the other entrance, because I got a two-way driveway. Anyway, my point being, there was years where my email went dormant. I probably didn't even send one, except for a once-a-year tax thing that I had to send, whatever. And now it's a lot of emails, and I'm missing a lot of them. And it's a lot of.
So when do you get fired from this job?
Yeah, really. I think I'm kind of. I was gonna say I'm unfireable. I'm fireable from this job.
Yeah.
They could be you're just getting demoted back to regular job. But that's what's kind of cool about it is it's kind of playing with house money.
Right.
If it goes well,
they probably won't even take the money back either. But you can keep your salary, but just stop coming to meetings.
Well, I'm also the only asshole in the world who just started a job with more responsibility without getting a new contract for it. So, par for the course in the KFC Radio world. More responsibility, but no money? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So
they're going to give you the Clemens? You can get back pay?
That would be cool.
Not
going to happen.
Back pay is pretty
nice.
Bro,
we don't get front pay. We're not going to get back pay. It did kind of sneak up on me.
I got to take a personal loan out from Nikki Smokes. Bro, you mind if I can borrow? I'm only $500.
I know you got that coin.
By the way, are you going to get on Slack? Because you're in a lot of Slack groups.
So I was just going to say, as funny as we talked about,
you're in
about Erica
Slack
saying that today, or all those years ago, I got a text from Nikki Hams yesterday.
Yeah.
Yesterday at 10:18. You on Slack? Didn't even write back. There are certain concessions I'm willing to make. There are certain concessions I'm not willing to make. I'm not going to get on Slack. I'm trying to minimize the amount of bullshit. I understand I got to show up to meetings and stuff. But what I bring to the table, everybody brings their strengths. We have a girl who came from Meta and Facebook. I'm sure, she has a ton of important shit that she can implement. And we got people coming from different industries and I come from the content world of Barstool Sports and the logical world of we don't need to do all of this shit the corporate way. And you're probably going to hate me for it, but I'm going to at least I have to at least try to implement some of my shit, where it's we can talk about it. We don't need to over talk about it. We don't need to email about it. We don't need to meet about it. We don't need to always talk. We definitely don't need to Slack all day long. So I will not be joining Slack.
The Barstool Sportsbook is the best place to bet all your bets. Doesn't matter what you're betting. It's basically exclusively baseball. I guess it is August. It is Saratoga. It is the dog days of summer. We got a lot of baseball to be gambling. Go there. You can bet with your biggest personalities. You can bet with your favorite things. Go to the Barstool Sportsbook. You can bet wherever you want. You can do whatever you want. You can bet. I don't know. I'm just going to read you baseball games, I guess. Here's the app. It's in my phone. It's easy. It's an app. They want you to show it, so I just did that. And they're I'm not going to read. I have too much respect for you. I'm not going to read you who's playing baseball. You'll figure it out when you go to the Barstool Sportsbook. It's a very easy and intuitive app. Terms apply. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. It's kind of like the you got two quarterbacks, you got none. If you have 10 ways to reach me, you don't have it's too much. And also it just invites bullshit.
Yes.
This doesn't need
Slack
to be
me nonstop.
At fucking all.
Because there are people.
People talk about the third floor challenge. There's a whole group chat. What are you talking about?
Why does that exist?
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
And it just invites people who do it for FaceTime purposes.
Yeah.
I sent the Slack today. I sent an email today. It's I don't need that in my life.
Okay.
What I do, I bring to the table a fuck ton of connections in the comedy world, a deep knowledge of the content game, a deep knowledge of how Barstool Sports works, and that's really about it.
Those are all pretty important things to run Barstool Comedy.
Well, especially then within this whole GM structure, every single vertical or whatever you want to call it, brand, umbrella, blah 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 blah. Comedy is the most unique because it's the least like specialized. You know, it's like sports is sports. You know,
it's also a little depressing.
Comedy's depressing?
Yeah.
In like a literal sense, or
it's just like that Barstool has a comedy part now,
bro. Also, this. Also, let me tell you this:
we used to just always be funny,
right?
That was what Barstool.
Like
was.
I was kind of like, isn't everybody under comedy?
Yeah.
I'll tell you the other worst part about it. By a mile, number one with a bullet, like the weakest and worst run of the brands.
Barstool's comedy.
Comedy, like. We don't make any money off of it. It needs to be like completely overhauled. Not even overhauled, just like implemented for the first time ever. Where it's like we're in the middle of a golden age of comedy, a gold rush of money. Podcasters, comics, influencers, everybody who's, maybe this guy is from the sports world and this guy or girl's from the stand-up world and wherever they might come from. But at the end of the day, they're doing comedy and making money hand over fist. Our company is like, we can't make any money on comedy. This is never gonna work. I was talking to Jake Bass the other day about it, who is the assistant GM, because I just wanted to pick a real fucking bulldog Jewish guy who's gonna do all the hard work for me. And he was like, we have so many people doubting us that like this is not ever gonna be possible. That like it fuels me like 100% more. I think that some people somehow are. I think they're all still stuck in like the Me Too, Trump, political whatever era where like everything was radioactive and brand safety and all this shit. And I'm just like, that's not the fucking world anymore. And I don't know whether I know that there are certain groups and certain people at Barstool in-house that need to learn that and stop being afraid. I don't know if we need to do a better job of convincing clients of that. I don't know if those clients just don't believe it or whatever. But gone are the days where someone would be like, that podcaster said like this about like LGBTQ. I'm never going to drink that drink again because they were on that show. Like it's just not a fucking thing.
Yeah.
And I don't think
it is funny to always have this conversation while Bud Light is still doing the Bud Light thing. But that's like, it's not a podcaster. It's
that is like that was not a podcaster that they work with that said something.
Is that person a podcaster?
She. Dylan Mulvaney is a he is I think just like an influencer.
Okay.
He probably has a podcast because everybody does. But that's different. That is someone that brought them in as a spokesman.
I agree. It's different. Wholeheartedly. I'm just saying people would say that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's more like, I guess the better example, and it happened relatively recently, but even this was a couple years ago now, was what Miller Lite did. Like, they were on board with us. We said something that they don't, like they had worked with us. They didn't announce us as some big part of their company. No. It was just like, we work with them. We did something they didn't like, and they were like, this, we got to pull out. I mean, that was one of the all-time. So, like, that to me is like, maybe we need to find the right brands that have moved on from that. Maybe we need to inform brands. But I think it's more people here just go, oh, their brand, they're not safe. They're unsafe. They're edgy. I'm going to lose my commission. I'm not going to hit my goals. There's no way I could possibly sell this because they're talking about sex and stuff. And I'm like, dude, we're not Alex Jones. We're not like 4chan freaks. We're not right-wing maniacs. We're not left-wing anarchists. Like, we're just the most regular. I'm talking all comedy, you know, like from our show to like Tommy Smokes to Anus to Out and About, Roan and Kale. Like, these guys, we're all just like normal people who talk about the stuff that's going on in the world. We don't make the controversy. We don't have even really edgy opinions anymore. Like, if we ever did, it's just like if you were to put together like who are the don't touch list of the internet, it's not us. It's not even close to us.
It's particularly depressing when they tell us that stuff as if we don't have a lot of friends who do what we do.
Right. Who are making millions of dollars.
Incredibly wealthy.
And have what? Maybe have one, like 1/100th of the resources.
Like, we have friends who are surprised when they're like, do you want to come in on this? Like, it's only $2 million. I'm like, come here, Sticky Smokes. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that was tough. What was that? Somebody was
that
like,
was Theo.
Yeah. Theo Vaughn asked us to join on something that only cost $2 million each. I was like,
This was years ago.
Years ago. Like, where it's not possible now. It was not even remotely possible then.
I made $90,000 when he
Dude, the amount of people, I think. So this is actually the crux of the job.
It was in this office. It was because we were in the old studio. Yeah.
Was it?
I remember you telling me about it as we walked into the old studio. And
I thought it was the old office.
I'm not. Maybe it was.
Because Theo, we haven't had on the show.
Yeah.
Theo was in the old office.
Maybe
and we
I
haven't
was touring this office. I just have a memory of that.
Right.
But maybe I made that up. But I remember you being like, Theo has this. And I was like, I don't know.
It was so cool.
In
to
20
be like,
years, if I don't have to pay rent, maybe.
If I have no bills and no taxes, I might amass this wealth in the next 100 years.
Depending on how these
and then they tell us that this can't be sold.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Dude, it's nuts.
And Theo's, I mean, at the time, Theo's the similar size show. It's crazy. Like, some of our friends are Bert, and it's like, that's a different animal. All of our friends are
so rich, dude. And not only they're rich,
they don't even have sales teams.
They don't. They just have like themselves or like one guy,
and it beats a whole sales team.
It's crazy. And not only that, they like blew past us.
Yeah.
Like, I remember being like, you know what? Like, I'm happy for this person, that show, that girl, whoever. They're making a boatload of money, but like, I've got my equity coming and I'll be good. Mine's kind of like the long game. And they've just been making millions of dollars a year for several years, to the point that it's worth more than my equity. Like, if I just did that, and these people are, supremely talented. There's a million reasons why I couldn't just do that. But I'm like, wait, no, they just ended up making more money than I did owning this fucking company. It's crazy. I mean, there's so much money to be had, and
the people here, as you say, can't figure it out.
Well, that's what this whole thing is. That's what this whole overhaul and this whole reorganization is, to find the right people. And because a lot of it, I think, was we don't have dedicated salespeople here. Ultimately, I would love to implement that. I think we should have a world where you only sell. I mean, it would be great if you only sell one show, but that might be unreasonable. I don't know how salaries work out or whatever. We have a lot of shows, but maybe you can only sell like these 3 shows so that you know everything about it. You know what they like. You know what brands they should work with. Right now, people just go, I'm going to sell PMD. I'm going to sell Foreplay. Oh, golf is worth millions of dollars. Boom, done, And there's nobody who's like in the comedy world selling based on comedy. What I think is crazy is that there are people who don't see that as the opportunity. Like, there's only so many ads you can sell on some of these top shows, where like comedy, there's money in this game, bro. Like you said, look the fuck around. I don't know, pick up the phone and call those podcasts.
I'll tell you who to call.
Yeah, we know the. Yeah, we'll just. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I'm gonna end up doing this job, so I'm just gonna do this job because it is gonna be like, I will talk to these people about how do you sell your show. And I will have to go to my sales team and tell them, this is how you sell the show. Because here are guys who are doing it on their own, that they have to make the content, edit the content, produce the content, and sell the content, and they're lapping us. So let's figure it the fuck out. So that is hopefully what we're going to do with
it's going to be a long, hard battle.
It is. Well, I hope it's I think it's going to be like a bloody battle. Like, I think there are people... I think there's a set group of people who probably really benefited from the old way of doing it, who are going to be like, fuck this. I don't want to change a thing. I think in the long run, everybody will benefit from the way we're trying to do it. But in the short run, if I was making my money, my commission, my bonus, my whatever, if I was getting my promotion, blah, 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 based on the old way, I'd be like, I don't want anything to change. And I get that. I get that there are people in sales and marketing and whatever that are told to hit certain numbers, and the easiest way to do that is to sell only certain things and work with certain brands. But we're gonna just like the company will die doing that. Like there'll never be any sort of development or we'll never find the new talent. And I think I mean, like 1 Minute Man to me is like the best example of it. Like the first year of 1 Minute Man, we were selling ads like hand over fist. I would have like 7 a week. I would have to do like a episode every single day, including the weekends. And that was like year 1. And I was like, oh, this is it. I finally like have my real thing that's like gonna be like the rocket ship, and I can do KFC Radio, but this will be like a big money maker. And I think it's gone down in revenue, which is like unfathomable. To me, I was like, oh, year 2 will be bigger, and by year 3 we will be like established, like that'll be the prime of the career, Year 3 will be 1 Minute Man will be so big, the same way that like Riggs was like, I'm gonna change lanes and do foreplay. A few years into foreplay, it was massive. I was like, oh, if we have this many ads and this much money in year 1, by year 4 or 5, like forget it. And I think it's going backwards. And the only thing I've ever heard is it's too edgy, and they can't sell the frequency. Like it's last minute. It's like, oh, the news popped up today, and we don't have the time, or they don't know what they're going to be on, and they don't have the time to clear it. And I was like, or is it that you change the price, because we used to sell 7 a week, and I never changed my content, and I never changed the frequency, and they were selling. Something happened here, and they stopped selling, and it had to do with when we changed the price and who was selling it, and all these things that I was like, fuck all this, So I wanted to at least be like, if shit's gonna go wrong, I'm at the point in my career where it's like I want to be apprised of it, involved in it, in control of it, and if it doesn't work, then like luckily for me, I'm just gonna go be a content creator. I suck at the business side. I think it will succeed, but I at least got to give it a go. Like some people were saying to me, like, don't you like. You really want to do this? Like go backwards into like the annoying part of the job. Some people who work here, some people outside of here were like, this is going to suck. Like there's going to be a lot of bullshit you got to deal with. And I was like, I have to at least give it a go to try to, like, as much as we've run KFC Radio, we've never like run KFC Radio. We've never like had full control of it. And we still don't, but we have more at least doing it this way, where, I can say there's been a million ideas that I've thrown out over the years that either haven't been done or they finally bought into them too many years late. And maybe now we can be at the forefront of a couple things and we can actually do some of the shit we want. And if that means I got to go through like some business meetings and some shit, like that sucks, but I gotta give it a shot, So, and ultimately I do believe part of me always thinks like, I'll always do the show. And as long as I'm in front of a microphone, I'll be a slave to the joke, and I'll probably just say wild ass shit. But part of me thinks about like when my kids get older, it's like, can I really be like, talking this shit and saying these things?
I think everyone says that.
Yeah, so and I think they keep doing it.
But your sense of humor. We talked kind of about this last episode or a few episodes ago. Where like sense of humor's changed, things you do change.
Sure.
Like so you can't imagine continuing to talk as a 34-year-old, but like. You won't be talking as a 34-year-old. You'll be talking as a 42-year-old.
True, but as a 34-year-old, 28-year-old, 38-year-old, I'm still like talking about like sucking your own dick and stuff.
But people do that, and I would argue we do it less, like a person does. We're grown.
We talk about sucking our own dicks a lot.
Like,
I mean, you sent me that meme just the other day.
Well, because we had just talked about it.
That's what I mean.
It's a vicious cycle.
John, we had someone call in and we gave her voicemail of the week. She was talking about her husband sucking his own dick.
She brought it up. I didn't come in with my notebook and say
let's talk about sucking dick
today.
Yeah.
It was someone called it and I'm going to opine.
Yeah.
But you asked me about it.
My hands are tied. But I will never not do this. I will always joke about these things.
When I got hired, maybe a few years into getting hired, Dave was like, I got a few years left.
Yeah.
Because he was the same thing. Like,
right.
Dave probably... I remember Dave doing like porn blogs. Can you imagine Dave doing a blog about porn
Never.
Dave,
yeah.
I really remember
but that's
Dave
what's,
porn blog.
I hate that he doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Like part of me...
And he was older than I was. Like, he was doing porn blogs. He was older than I was.
Right.
Than I am currently. Like, Dave... Because...
I don't think Dave was like ever...
I remember. I would guess he was probably 36, 37.
Yeah.
Because it was so perverted where I was like, I know the blog. Because he did a blog where it was a screenshot of a porn, and he's like, is there anything better than like seeing a porn you thought you lost?
Yeah.
Or something like that. Like a porn you loved, but you thought you'd never find again. And I was like, dude, that's Christina Rose. I know it.
But I loved that version of Dave, like the blogging Dave, when you got to hear him talk about all those topics. And I think whether it's personal, professional, whatever, he kind of outgrew that. But I wish he didn't. I wish there was more of that. So I will probably do this forever. And, just have to have awkward conversations with my kids one day or whatever. But also, two things. One, I think it would be nice to have like some semblance of a regular thing that I do that I can either lie to them about or focus on or whatever. And two, the one thing I have come to learn about myself, I think a part of this show suffers because I don't promote it the way I really should, because I just still feel weird about posting myself and clips. And
I agree with you, and I was like, we should just be like, you do the social, because I can't see myself. I can't. We're talking about
that's why I've kind of given away my password and stuff, and like you just do but it also that doesn't work. 'Cause it's got to be in your voice and.
But I think promoting a podcast is not.
That's true. You can just
like I can't even look at a video.
I can't.
Myself.
When they send over the clips, I'm like,
I can't watch them.
I trust that they know the show, listen to the show, watch the show, have a good sense of humor, know how to make good clips. I'm sure there are funny parts of the show, but sometimes I open them and I'm like, that I don't think that's like good enough to like highlight and post as its own video. Like, watch this. I don't think so. And so I'm not. But for other people, I love it.
Yeah.
Posting out of order stuff, I love it. I'm genuinely like, this is so fucking. It has to be good. I'm not gonna lie, but so the product needs to be good. But I'm like, this is so fucking funny, and these guys work so hard, and they deserve it. Like, please go do this. I'm like asking people to do things, begging people to do things, like telling them why they should do it. I just am never gonna do that for myself.
Yeah, agreed.
But I'll do it for Outer Order. I think Sunday Conversation is fucking amazing. I think Out and About has like come on the scene in a way that, yeah, they have. I think Anus is one of the funniest things that is completely undervalued. I think Please End This is like right in lockstep with Out of Order. Like, I believe all that. I think it's all very funny, and in my head, I'm like, well, now I do have this platform, and I don't really utilize it that well to promote my own shit, but I can promote it. I will promote with other people. And if I can kind of make it my job and my business to like raise all of this, and we can just use, I have 500,000 followers on Instagram and 500,000 followers on Twitter. And if we're just highlighting who's funny and what's funny and why you should follow it, kind of like the crux of the whole thing, what drives me crazy, the amount of promotion and help that we do for external things. People and not internally. Like, the whole reason this works and works really well is because people come on and say, I need you to listen to my podcast, watch my movie, buy my book, use my products, buy my shirt, whatever. We do all those things and we don't do it for ourselves, and that just drives me absolutely insane. So I've always wanted the place to be a little more collaborative. I always wanted the place to help each other a little more and focus internally. I wanted to, try to sell things differently and do things differently. And this was a chance to at least have like I could always say these things as like KFC, the podcaster. I guess maybe some more people will listen if I'm GM of comedy. It's bullshit that it would take some fake title and me sitting in a boardroom rather than just listen to me because I do it for a living. But I think it's at least make a real run at it, especially with people moving away to Chicago. I think the group we have left is like bare bones, the funniest people we've got for the type of humor we're doing on the comedy scene. The connections we've made are like unparalleled, like truly second to none. And that's why I think like things like Theo, and like I'm pretty sure like when we talk to Bert, I'm pretty sure Bert thinks that we're like equals. Like I'm pretty sure Bert thinks we have like the same amount of money. And we don't. We don't. Sometimes he throws around numbers that he's like, that's like my throwaway show that only makes XYZ dollars. You know how it is. And I'm like,
I don't.
That's 100 times what we make.
I work at a comedy company that's scared of comedy.
Yeah, we're gonna change that. I mean,
I referenced the other day on the show. I don't know how much you listened to, but I talked about the person on the third floor was like, "This is racist," and I was like, "This."
That was insane. That was like, I knew that we didn't exactly have like comedy junkies up there, but like, holy moly,
it was,
and it wasn't like any of that.
I said,
if somebody went up, if Francis went up there and had a set where I was like, whoa, buddy's letting it fly today,
right?
I could maybe understand that some people were like, holy shit. It was like, I don't even know what she's talking about.
I said I'd argue it was a very left-leaning set.
Yeah. If anything, I was kind of like, oh, we're like the leftist pussy Barstool tonight. You know,
there's like a type of person that just thinks if you mention race, it's racist.
That's
right.
it.
Like,
yeah.
It's like that's
you can't say it.
They like freak out, and like one of my best friends is like that. I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Those are the people like, I don't see color, or I don't say. You know, it's like you can talk about it
right.
and even joke about it. Doesn't mean that you. But I really like. I love Out of Order. I love Dollar Slices. Being at the Dollar Slices show the other night, first of all, not having to have my... That's the other thing I realized about myself. Like, we'll always do it, but I'm still always nervous, and I just feel like a fish out of water, and I feel like I can do more from, like, a GM role.
You weren't nervous at Dollar Slices?
I was like, I'm not nervous that
I was arguably more tense.
See, I think I have the thing about it is I have supreme 100% faith that that's going to work and that they're all funny, so I'm good. Because like, if we were putting an inferior product up there and we were trying to like snake it till you make it, I'd be like, fuck, like if this one doesn't go well, then like we're really in, you know. I was like, even if something goes wrong here, these are the right guys for the job, the people on stage, the people behind the cameras. Like, this is going to work, so I was good.
See, I agree with everything you just said. Where I disagree is it was, to me, like introducing your high school and college friends.
Yeah.
You're both awesome.
Yeah, but you don't know if it's gonna work
because the crowd was a heavy Barstool crowd. It sold out so fast.
Yep.
And the comedians, comedians and Barstool are friends, but like it's very different.
Totally.
And
that's a good analogy.
I was like, just be cool with each other. Just be cool with each other. Just be cool with each other.
Yep.
And there were some times where it was a little hairy.
So that's what I love about Dollar Slices is, and I'm not like we've gotten really established in the comedy world, but I'm not some like I didn't grow up listening to stand up and like I know all the greats and it's my dream, but I feel like we've gotten pretty like entrenched in it.
I could almost tell you the date when I was like, I love this, and like started watching all the time.
What was it?
I can't tell you the date, but I can tell you can. It's Googleable. It's because he only hosted it once. Jon Stewart hosting SNL.
Really?
His set, his open monologue killed me.
I loved Chappelle show skits and I loved Chappelle stand up. I never really was like, oh, then let me go watch other ones. But I always knew those were like, when I said like, what's the funniest thing in the world? It's that show and those stand-ups. So I always had that in me. I just never took. I do remember my brother DMing me. I could probably find the DM on Twitter saying, you should get Big J Okerson and Tom Segura on the podcast. This was like before we were even doing it, and that was the first time I ever searched those guys and like found out who they were, and that was probably like. But I just started looking at it because it was like, oh, this is probably a smart move or whatever. But I don't know if I have a moment like that where it was like, this is what I love.
It was I remember the joke. He was talking about. I honestly don't remember the whole joke, but the like punchline was like, if you believe that, and I think this has become like a thing. Mm-hmm. This is the first time I ever heard it. Did you Google what was the year? I would guess it was late 90s.
Jon Stewart hosts SNL what year?
Maybe early 2000s. But it just ended something with like, if you believe that, you believe employees must wash hands as keeping piss out of your chicken McNuggets. And like, I thought it was like, I was like, that's fucking hilarious. So true. That's so funny.
That's what got
2002.
That's what got me into blogging. Is I was always read a blog from Dave or somebody where I was like, that it's the relatable ones where you go like, oh, I think that too. Like you're inside my mind. It's like a magic trick almost. You know? So, I mean, Dollar Slices was so good at points, so bad at points, awkward at moments. Like it was some real comedy shit where like Barstool got like so big so fast, early days we were like there was true blogging going on. But in the past like many years, it's been like we're a company, we're making money. It hasn't been like gritty, you know? Mm-hmm. And I hate to even use those terms because it's kind of corny, but it was like Francis up there, like I got to host this and I got to direct traffic. And we had some new comics, some old comics. We had a trans comic followed by a guard dog who gets up there and does like all his material was trans jokes. And he was like, fuck, I'm a piece of shit. I can't believe I told all those jokes after this trans girl just got up here and did that. And I was like, I love that. Yeah. And I don't think he did. And I think Sabrina in that moment was a little like, whoa, I'm definitely not, I'm out of my comfort zone. But I was like, I love that. I think it's awesome that the audience was a heavy Barstool crowd that got introduced to non-Barstool comedy. Yeah. And I'm sure some of them were like, I don't like that, but I'm sure some of them was like, that was fucking funny. I love that the comics were like, oh, this is what if you don't have like a snobby comedy crowd, you just have like regular dudes and guys and girls. That's what this is. I love that like everybody's just kind of figuring it out, that there was no fucking wait staff and everyone was getting up to go to the bathroom, and I just love all of that. I was like, this is real comedy that is undeniable. Like it I don't know how or when like it'll be a big thing, but it's gonna be because the guys up there and the girls up there are funny. We know who we have a good eye and ear for it. Francis can host and direct traffic. We have the best guys doing the edit and the filming. It's gonna work. Mm-hmm. And I think I have so much more confidence in other people when it comes to that stuff. And I can like hopefully do a little of the business side and direct traffic. And so I'll always do my own content, but I think sometimes I might be better suited to help other people with their content. So that's ultimately what this job is. As much as it's like dealing with bullshit business stuff, I think it's more about growing the whole group. And I think anytime I've really, we've done it unofficially with certain shows, Chicks in the Office and Clem and Robbie and things like that. But if we're like, let's really do it, we'll sit down, we'll talk about strategy, we'll implement it, and hopefully it works. And if it doesn't, I just kill myself. But it's like whatever. So at least we make a run at it. So
win-win.
Yeah, win-win either way. So
now, how much have you noticed our relationship change?
0%. Have you noticed a change?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Corporate Kev, corporate KFC, corporate FC.
I'm obviously kidding, but like but the part of me is not. That's why I said it.
In what? Like, because I would have said nothing.
There's nothing. No conversation we've had. There's no like thing I would say to you, or I would have said to you 2 weeks ago that I wouldn't say to you now.
You better not be.
But there is a part of me when I'm texting. I'm like, I'm texting the GM now.
Get the fuck out of here. That says you're crazy. You're a dumb motherfucker. That is totally insane. I almost, what is so funny?
Not like, again, not like watch what you say, but like when I text you, I know I'm talking to someone.
That is so stupid.
Who I'm like.
No, bro, that's so crazy because it's like the opposite. It's more like they should be like, I'm texting with the guys from content. You know what I mean? Because I'm obviously like I'm like the kid who's like the teacher's assistant who's gonna steal the test for the class. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna come in here and be like, guess what we're doing? Like I got the inside scoop. So that is crazy. And you know what is
not okay. I'm trying to clarify how it is. Like, I sent you a text. Here's one that sticks out. I sent you a text. We were talking about Severance, and I was like, "It's a good commentary on corporate life."
Yeah.
I'm still thinking about that now because you didn't reply to that text, and I was like, "Fuck, does he think I'm like trying to make it about him?"
Oh my god, this dude is crazy. I'll tell you, I'm gonna talk to you guys right now. That was the most offensive thing anyone's ever said to me. I'm upset.
See, now I'm anybody, like, fuck, my boss is
upset. I'm upset that anybody, let alone my best friend for 15 years, would think that your text about Severance, the TV show, upset me somehow. What a
sell the show.
I'm having a heart attack. That's great. So we'll see. I mean, part of me is like I said, I guess a lot of people are like doubting us and think that it's like impossible. I'm kind of like, I think we're starting on third base and the industry is perfectly set up for this and we just haven't done it right. But to me, it's like, like, I don't know. If you were externally and you went to someone and you were like, do you want to sell like stand-up comedy and podcasts right now? They'd be like, yeah,
that'd be great.
like that's fucking a gold rush. Yeah. Like, that's like it's almost like a scam right now.
You saying like born on third base is like the perfect thing where it's just like, oh, just ask your dad for the job.
Yeah,
like just do it.
Just like you're just not doing the thing that you need to do. And I don't know whether they don't believe that or they are. Again, I just think we need to like change the system a little bit. But it's like, and I also part of me may learn the hard way that like what budgets are and what is possible and realistic and feasible within like the constructs of like corporate life or whatever. But I'm like, I will call up all of the important people in comedy and we will at the very least be heard out and like, you know what I mean? And I'm talking like, we've had a lot of like all of our successes in the sports world and we've had access to a lot of great athletes. We've never had like LeBron James and Tom Brady and, the top like Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani like on the shows. We do that in comedy. We have literally minus like Chappelle and Chris Rock. We've had like every other one. And not only are they on the show, they're like friends with us, probably want to work with us, are like, down with the brand and
fly us to Europe.
Right. Like really intimately involved with us. And, I can pick up the phone and say like, yo, you want to like partner up? And they'll probably say yes and they'll be down. Does that mean that like it works within this company's budget or will get approved by whoever? Like that, I don't know. But I can bring you that I don't think any other GM from any other world could have brought. So I might not be on Slack and I might miss some meetings, a lot of meetings. But like if you want to sell comedy and you want to build, and it's more about like we want to sell it, but we want to make it like the funniest place possible. We already have a great crew to start. I think we know how to develop it internally, and I have literally the best in the world externally that we can just, at least try to work with. So I don't know if you can't make that work, then that part of me is like, this is so set up to succeed that if it doesn't, something's gone radically wrong or whatever, and I can just hang my hat on like then it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Then I know that the only way this works is to be an individual comedian who starts your own podcast, and people really support you because they like you, and it doesn't work when you try to put together, like it's trying to be SNL, and maybe SNL doesn't quite work as well as it once did, and maybe that's the lesson that we learned, that you can't do it under one big umbrella. But we will prove that out, like one way or the other, true or false, because we just got too much going in that direction. So I think it's going to be easy, but I guess some people don't. But I think between me, Jake, and the crew we have here, and the people staying in New York, and the amount of like funny we have here, I almost want to get in the room with some of these sponsors and just be like, are you guys fucking stupid? Like, it's just the easiest way to access some of the funniest minds on the internet. You don't do that? Okay. I don't know.
I got very excited. It was, I think, 2 weeks ago. You and Jake were just talking like business, and like I've been wanting to work with him since like I started here. I first like sat next to him, and he was always just on foreplay, and like he's always had that mind for this.
Yep.
And the fact that it just worked out where he was like, I'm trying to get off that.
Totally.
Like
that. It's almost like the thing that didn't work with Jake on foreplay is what this job requires. It's like he was almost like too business oriented, where they wanted to just be like guys on the golf course. And I was like, business oriented, you say?
Yeah.
Like liking all of that shit, And he is like a bulldog who's like gonna stay on top of everybody and like really push it. And I was like, oh yeah. And the most important thing though, because they told me I was gonna like have an assistant, not an assistant, but they're calling it assistant GM, so a partner basically. And they were like, we're going to need you to interview people for that. And I was like, that is going to be a problem. Because I'm like, I'll just be like, you're nice. You have the job. I don't have it in me to like.
Don't bother booking a second.
Yeah, right.
Whoever can meet at the earliest time, their job.
That's it. Yeah, and I was not going to be good at that. And I was like, who is somebody that like we get along with, that gets the vibe, that works on the business side, knows Barstool, and it was like checking every box with Jake. So yeah, he hopefully will pick up the slack. That's why I make content, baby. And we'll see where it goes. But yeah, I broke my own rule, like my only rule, and went and got a job.
I'll stop texting you.
All right, big thanks for watching. If you made it through this whole episode, that means you should be subscribed. There's so many of you out there who watch and don't subscribe, so make sure you are a KFC Radio subscriber. Make sure you get all the content when it drops. Click that button now.
I have 9 fingers. I'm still subscribed. It's that easy.